Hi everyone, this is Scott Dunn here with Rocket Knight Solutions. Just wanted to give you a quick video to kind of summarize recent blog posts that we put out there, make it easier to just listen to in the car or just forward and let others watch it to get a quick summary. So these recent blog posts are based on interviews I've done of people that are successful in their roles, whether that's Scrum Master, Product Owner, or Manager, or Leadership, or Dev, or just any role within an agile context, and trying to find out what makes them successful, and in particular, what's on their mind, what concerns them, and how do they address those concerns. So based on those conversations, a couple of quick blog posts I put out there, really insightful stuff. So the first one, this is on April 20th, I put out a post called Double Your Team's Velocity, Late Changes. That is, if we could get one win from our team and really improve productivity, what this one leader said was it was much more about being thoughtful about the planning and getting consensus and buy-in from our stakeholders and other leaders earlier, not later in the planning cycle, not when we're getting ready to release and having suddenly this realization of, oh, that's not quite what we were thinking. And then inevitably all these changes come in and those changes are more costly and take more time. An apt metaphor might be the shipping on something you're buying a lot of products, and you can either wait and get free shipping, or you can do expedited shipping and get it sooner, but it's going to cost you more. In the same way, these late changes are just going to cost us more. So it's not so much are we not planning well. I think partly is, are we really vetting that and getting buy-in from stakeholders? So product management as a whole, product ownership, and leaders being aware of that and supporting that so we don't pay more for the same work later on. The next blog post was called Your Estimates Are Bad Because. Now we've heard this plenty of times, but I found that interesting that one leader was saying the estimates were bad, not because of the requirements weren't clear enough, people didn't spend enough time on them. The requirements were bad because the people putting the estimates together just weren't the most knowledgeable people. Now why is that? The reason I found so insightful is, let's just take the typical picture of we're running late, we got to get this out the door, we got to hit the date, and inevitably you push it out and it wasn't quite ready, so now there's defects, there's production issues, and that causes turmoil and change and pain, and people are there late on Friday night, people are coming in on the weekends. I mean, I've been there on those. That leads to burnout. If you're one of the best folks there, you're your top talent, then in some ways you would say, I don't need this extra grief. The job market's awfully tight. I can find work elsewhere, and off they go. And usually, my experience has been the better people have more options and they leave sooner. So if that's true and your better people have left, now who replaces them? Unfortunately, it's going to be people who are not as experienced with your system, don't know it as well, weren't there when it was written. And guess what? Because their understanding of the system isn't as good as the people that were there before, their estimates are not as good. And because their estimates aren't as good, our realization of whether we can or can't do something, and most developers in my experience are optimists and they think they can do it ideally if no one interrupts them and all this stuff, and that it's not realistic and they don't hit the date, but it gets pushed out anyways, and there's production issues, and now we have a greater problem of more production issues, more late nights, more weekends, and again, now your middle tier engineers are like, I don't need this is frustrating, off they go. It's a downward spiral. So we'll talk a little bit about systems thinking and trying to solve the right problem, the root cause of the problem of that one, to get to it. But keep in mind, I thought that was really insightful of our estimates are bad, not because of lack of requirements or not digging in as much. That was my experience as a manager, but just that we're losing the good people who understand it the best, and therefore it's a reinforcing loop downward spiral, as we call it. In a related way, the third comment I had that I thought was really interesting was around the most important thing that leadership needs, and that was feedback. So one person said if they could have one thing from their leaders, is that their leaders would get feedback. In particular, this person said, and they were one of the senior Agile coaches, in particular they said if they would get feedback on how their behavior affects things, that is these late changes, these new ideas, etc., and the turmoil and the challenge that causes. So my takeaway was for that is for all of us, for whether a manager, senior manager, or leadership level, who's giving you honest feedback, and who's not sugarcoating it, and who's softening the blow, and who doesn't care what if you get upset or not, and if you don't like the message or not. You need some objective opinion. It could be an outside coach, it could be an agile coach, it could be a leadership coach. But I just challenge you, who is that voice that would say, why did you do that? Why couldn't you wait? Why couldn't you tell them no? Why didn't you talk to the salesperson about signing that deal before the team looked at it? Why didn't you just tell Charlie, sorry, it's going to have to wait? Whatever that is, right? We've been in those spots, and those are difficult conversations, I get it. But if you know someone's going to ask later how that went, it tends to strengthen our resolve to do the right thing. I think we know in our heads and our hearts what that right thing is. It's just really hard to do. And I think, to quote Patrick Lencioni, healthy companies trump smart companies in the sense that they're willing to have those difficult conversations. They're willing to engage in conflict. And I think we just need support and help doing that. And if that's the case, then that leader, that senior manager, that manager helps solve the right problem and help us just improve the system of work. And I think that's so important for what we're doing in Agile. So that's just a quick summary of all those articles we put out there. You can go and find them on rocket9solutions.com/blog and read through them and forward them, or forward this video if you want. And we hope to see you soon. Thank you.